Once again, ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to invite all of you to Notebook Ignite. As I said earlier, today we have a masterclass with Mr. Sunil Kanoria, one of India's foremost entrepreneurs. Before we begin, a big thank you to our knowledge partners at IIM Calcutta Innovation Park, without whose help and support this event would not have been possible. We also must thank our sponsors. We have BSNL as our gold sponsor, the Webel Fujisoft Vara Center of Excellence, and Logdhun as our associate sponsors, and the SKC LNCT Group of Colleges, Madhya Pradesh, as our prize sponsor. Well, to introduce Mr. Kanoria and welcome all of you to today's session, it is now my privilege to introduce you to Achin Bhattacharya, who is the founder and CEO here at Notebook. Achin is a chartered accountant by training. He was a director at Deloitte prior to starting Notebook. He has worked in India and abroad in various senior capacities in GE, PwC, KPMG, and Deloitte. Achin is a fellow of the ICAI and a member of CPA Australia and CPA Ireland. He is also the recipient of the prestigious Indian Achievers Award. Achin is an avid reader and a passionate traveler with keen interests in economics, history, literature, and philosophy. He is a regular speaker at various forums and chambers of commerce and also contributes articles to numerous publications regularly. He is also on the board of some of the most renowned corporates and contributes regularly to their brand strategies. Achin, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I again welcome all of you to today's session. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Mr. Sunil Kanoria amongst us. Mr. Kanoria is one of the most successful entrepreneurs of our times. And in spite of all his legendary achievements, his simplicity and humility are qualities that really makes him stand out. At Notebook, as many of you are aware, after the grand success of last year's Zero Hour, an online inter-school debate that saw 64 schools from 7 countries engaging in some inspired discourses, this year we have partnered with IIM Calcutta Innovation Park to conduct an online inter-school innovation challenge. Ignite is designed to let school students discover the joy of creativity and problem solving. At Notebook, we have been able to travel a long distance within a short span of time. And this would not have been possible without the phenomenal support that we've received from each one of you. Today, with more than 2 million active students in our platform and a content base of 10,000 plus engaging videos, we are one of the fastest growing EdTech brands in the country. We are also extremely humbled at getting the opportunity of being the preferred EdTech partner for more than 2,000 schools across the country and conducting online teachers training for more than 50,000 educators during the pandemic. At Notebook, we firmly believe that innovation and creativity are not functions of affluence or social standing. And together with your support, we'll leave no stone unturned in our effort to identify the change agents among our young learners. The world needs innovators who can think out of the box, those who can provide sustainable and scalable solutions to age-old problems that we as a society have been grappling with. In our humble endeavor to encourage visionaries of tomorrow who have the courage of taking challenges head-on, to make the lives of their fellow citizens better and create wealth for all stakeholders of the ecosystem, we have conceptualized this event so as to encourage the next generation of job creators. With this, we look forward to hear from Mr. Kanoria about his journey, and I would urge each one of you to learn from his rich experience. Personally, he has always been an inspiration to us. And ask him any questions that we may have during our Q&A session post his address. Over to you, Shubham.
Thank you, Achin. Thank you for welcoming everybody here. And once again, we are privileged today to have with us Mr. Sunil Kanoria. Here's a little bit about him before we begin.
From humble beginnings to being at the helm of one of India's largest holistic infrastructure institutions, Sunil Kanoria has traversed this journey with integrity and determination as his core values. A follower of the teachings of Swami Vivekananda and the Vedanta philosophy, spirituality has defined Sunil's personal and work life from the very onset. Sunil is a visionary who correctly assessed the Indian economy's infrastructure needs at the beginning of his career and anticipated the imminent role of private sector in infrastructure creation. With foresight and a knack for taking calculated risks, Sunil converted several pioneering ideas into business reality within the infrastructure domain, several of which were first of its kind in India. As the Vice Chairman, Sunil has been instrumental in building the brand Shrey. Under Sunil's guidance, Shrey Equipment Finance Limited has emerged as one of India's leading infrastructure equipment financier. Today, Sunil is one of India's most respected thought leaders within the domains of infrastructure and finance. He has had the distinction of serving ASSOCHAM, India's oldest and leading chamber of commerce, as president. Sunil is currently the honorary consul of Spain in Kolkata. He is the former president of the Agri-Horticultural Society of India and has served as member of the construction sector in the 10th five-year plan of the Planning Commission of the Government of India. He is a council member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, nominated by the Government of India. Sunil, along with his wife, has been actively engaged in various philanthropic activities in the areas of development of the mind, body and soul. Together, they have championed the cause of child education and women's empowerment under the brand Suryoday, transformed several lives of acid attack victims through Shrey Foundation initiatives, and encouraged spirituality both in life and at workplace. To unleash the power of rural entrepreneurship, Sunil, along with his brother, has created a strong rural infrastructure network, providing revenue opportunities to thousands of rural entrepreneurs, impacting millions of lives in rural India.
बचपन में ये था हमेशा जबकि होश संभाला कि हमें पढ़ाना है, सिखाना है। वो एक सीख का, एक टीचिंग का काफी कुछ लगाव था।
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was what we could glean of the public domain. But here is somebody who knows Mr. Kanoria a lot more personally. I would now request Dr. J.N. Mukhopadhyay to please welcome and introduce Mr. Kanoria in the way he knows best. To introduce Dr. Mukhopadhyay, he is a mechanical engineer from IIT BHU, MBA from IIM Calcutta, and UGC NET qualified and PhD in economics from Jadavpur University. He has 35 years of professional experience, 17 in the industry and 18 years in the academia. Before coming to academics, he's had 17 years of professional experience in the industry with leading companies like BOC India, IBP Barmer Lorry, Al Ghanim, which is one of the largest companies in Kuwait, Shrey, etc. He was Senior Vice President and National Head of Shrey Capital Markets, in which capacity he worked closely with Mr. Kanoria. He has 18 years of experience in teaching in finance area and also has been a visiting faculty at various IIMs. His research papers have been presented at international conferences, and many of his papers have been published in referred journals. One of the papers co-authored by him was published in an A-star journal. He has been a speaker at various seminars organized by various chambers of commerce, CII, Institute of Company Secretaries, CMA, etc. He has conducted training and workshops for various large companies. He was founding faculty and professor of finance and dean of Globson Business School from 2002. After 12 years there, he became director of J.D. Birla Institute from 2014, where he played a transformational role, making it a much sought-after institute. He was also the director and professor at Heritage Business School and Calcutta Business School. He leaves an imprint in the mind of all his students, and we at Notebook are privileged to have him as our senior advisor. Dr. Mukhopadhyay, sir, over to you.
Yeah. A very good afternoon to all. Respected Mr. Kanoria, sir. And I also want to, on behalf of Notebook and on my personal behalf, want to welcome Mr. Sunil Kanoria once again and want to welcome all the participants. I have also been working very closely with the founder and co-founders of Notebook, and I think there's a huge promising thing they have. As far as what Achin and Shubha said was more available in the public domain, having worked for more than 5 years with Mr. Sunil Kanoria closely, I want to share only one quality apart from the vision and the pioneering role, which all of you must imbibe. That is, his as a chartered accountant, I thought that he went into such details into everything. Whenever a file was put up by someone seeking a credit, he'd go into minutest details. And this is one thing I think the youngsters are lacking, because I'm a teacher, I find that So this is one quality. Being a visionary is a God-gifted quality. Being a pioneer in infrastructure, that's a great thing. One more thing I want to tell you, the way is what is not written, that Mr. Kanoria, with the help of Kanoria Foundation and the other sister group companies, are doing besides infrastructure finance, they're into power, they're into Srishti, which is a sister company. So they are doing a lot of great work into construction, into five-star hotels. And what I now admire most about Mr. Kanoria is that, he's also into the current sunrise sector. He's proudly with Fujisoft done the Center for Excellence, which is one of the best Center of Excellence in India. So through the Vara Technology, which is also one of the sister companies of Mr. Kanoria, founded by him, they are doing 3D printing, they are into IoT, they are into data analytics. So they're the latest things. So I think people like you, when we're discussing with Achin and Shubhayu, I think that notebook, because you are young students, you have a long way to go, and technology is going to play a very big role. So I think the Center of Excellence is going to be something which can, at a very, normally it was done for college level people only. But I was telling Mr. Sunil Kanoria also, and telling Achin also that, it is a good idea that if you can rope in the class 12 students, 11, 12, because 11, 12 students are very bright. And you cannot do anything without technology now. And I'm very much appreciative of Mr. Kanoria that, from say infrastructure, from say international finance to infrastructure, and now into Vara Technology, into so many diverse groups. So sometimes one question I sometimes wonder that how Mr. Kanoria is able to manage so many diverse business. We have managed only one company and we are not able to do that. So that's a secret we may like Mr. Kanoria to share with us. And as he had said that he founded this company. So, like all of you, I want, as Achin said, that, all of you should not be seeking. Most of you should create jobs. So I think you should have a lot of questions, practical questions, because Mr. Kanoria started this company and he's not only made this company very big, he's diversified into so many other companies. So there should be a lot of interesting questions and we'll try to moderate that. So with that thing, sir, and we are also touched by Mr. Kanoria's humility, though he's risen in the last 30, 40 years, like very high, but he still remains a very humble person. That is one more quality that touches us. So with that, few words, over to you, Shubhayu, once again.
Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Kanoria, sir, I will now leave it to you. Thank you so much for being here today. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much for all the kind words. And thank you very much, Achin and Jayant and all the team here to have given this opportunity to me to share some of my thoughts of my experience, and also in turn learn something from you during this interaction. Thank you very much. Friends, before I start, I think the first key thing which I believe as an individual, as a soul, we need to look at within our own self, because that's the core, our soul, that's our core, and become aware of it. Many times what happens in life, we just keep on running about things, doing things, not introspecting or not reflecting within ourselves. If you look at everything we do is basically from our own soul. So are we nurturing our own soul? Are we taking care of that soul? What are we made of? We have our soul, which is basically the life which is there, that energy, life form of the energy form of life. We have our mind from there, and we have our body. And that's why I say that it is very important for us as an individual, as a human being, which is different than an animal. And that's where we differentiate ourselves, that we have these three elements, and we need to continuously look at, be aware of all these aspects and see whether we are taking care of it, of each element of it, whether it is our soul, through our spiritual journey, through our own reflection of who and what we are, our mind, the thoughts which we create through our belief system, through our experiences, through our exposures, through the information we get. And the third is the body also. We have to take care of the body, which imbibes this soul during this journey of life. And therefore, if the body is not appropriately taken care, the mind will get impacted and the soul gets impacted. And similarly, vice versa. So therefore, in the beginning, I would just say that every individual must become aware and take care of all these three elements to be a good human being and be able to play his role in this journey of life. With that, I would say basically that I'm always an optimist. And whenever challenges have come in, as we've evolved, as we have grown in this journey, right from childhood, multiple challenges come. But what has helped us, my parents, my father, who has exposed us to the key teachings of great leaders and great saints like Swami Vivekananda, Paramahansa, Yogananda. So those things have helped us to evolve and have that strength to manage the challenges of life. As we all know that today the world is going through a challenge which was unprecedented. It was, I think, over 100 years back when the Spanish flu was there, they say. I'm sure none of us were existent at that point of time. And today we are seeing the kind of disruption this pandemic has done. It has taken a lot of lives. It has impacted people phenomenally. However, in spite of all these, life will keep on going on. And therefore, we need to learn from such disruptions. What do we do? How do we take care of ourselves? And once you go back and you'll see that it is again the three elements which I shared in the beginning, is our soul, mind, and body. Are we taking care of it enough? If we take care of it enough, the journey will be much more smoother. And that's, with that, I would say that coming to today's topic on entrepreneurship, it is one element of what you do in life in the journey. And how does it evolve? I think the way I see as an entrepreneur is that people have to work for his own self. Whether you are working in an ecosystem of an organization as an employee, you may be called an employee, but you're working for your own self. Or you're working in your own organization, which you may be having your ownership also, or you may be working in, it's all a part of a society. As a larger society, community, an organization, and the individual. You may be wearing a hat of an investor as an owner of the business, and you may be wearing a hat of an operator of the business. So therefore, it's a role we keep on changing. And therefore, if we know that we wear multiple hats in our life, in our homes, we wear the hat of a son or a husband or a father, in the society as a friend, in an organization, you may be working as a president or as an employee or an owner, whatever could be. These are only roles and hats. If you just understand that, life can become much more simpler. And when you face challenges, you reflect this, you'll find a solution to yourself. Every problem of life, you have a solution within your own self. If you go deep within your own self, challenge yourself, question yourself, reflect within, meditate inside, you'll get those answers. Many a time you need facilitation, you need kind of inputs or information or spikes from whether good learnings, good teachings, but ultimately it is for your own self to take care. So as a journey, when we took over with the learnings, we just took it as step by step as a journey of life and started doing activity which will help us as an individual and help the society at large. And that's how in '89, the exposure to the infrastructure sector happened when just out of college, I did my CA and then thought of doing something beyond what the businesses of the family was. And that's where we saw that financing, leasing of equipments, infrastructure equipment was virtually not there, because in India, the mechanization level was very poor, infrastructure development was very poor that time. Construction companies or entrepreneurs, they were doing mostly manual labor. That's how we started to work, and the journey began through that. We were able to attract investments from international government institutions like the government of Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, Finland, Sweden, Canadian, Austrian, French, the World Bank Group, IFC. They saw that by facilitating and supporting a small company, we were very small in out of Calcutta. People initially told us that we are too small, why are we going to support you? But it happened. You kept giving your perspective that what are you doing and how you can take care of it. And that's how that journey continued. Evolutions have happened in the last 30 years. We expanded into supporting infrastructure development in the country when India started to open up in 96, 97, where privatization was coming in. But I would say that India has gone a long, long way in this journey. There's a lot of changes, a lot of developments, both positive, negative. One of the traits which my experience in India has been, India is a very, very complex country because our strength is our democracy, our strength is our diversity. But along with that, because we have basically gone through democracy in a very early stage of our development. So it's something like, the way I look at it is a family. Whenever you see a country, when you look at and reflect within a smaller family, you'll be able to correlate a similar environment, a similar situations. Say like in a small family, when a child is born, at a young age, what do? You have to support him. The parents have to support the environment, the working. Your rules and regulations for a child will be different. Child of 5 years or 10 years or 15 years will be different than if he becomes an adult or he's grown up. You won't have the same rules and regulation which you will apply to a 5-year-old and you'll apply to a 25-year-old. The challenge for India is that because we have that diversity, because we are still in the development mode, our rules, policies, regulations are basically, when it comes in one form. It is not able to differentiate and take care of each levels of the evolution of the country. And that is where the conflicts and the challenges happen. And when we see that why a few years India grows and then it doesn't grow, then it has its pains, it falls down, it crumbles, and again it starts to pick up. There's a lot of casualties which happens in that journey. So we are paying a massive price through this journey because of our diversity and because of our democracy, democratic situation. Whereas if you see some countries, many countries evolved and became democracies, strong democracies, post a certain level of development. If you see China, why people say that China in the last 30 years has evolved and grown a lot? There's a certain evolution where they started primarily with a dictatorial environment, whereby they needed to get things done, they did it. Now, gradually, it is slowly opening up, but still, it has its own pros and cons. I do not advocate for the Chinese methodology, but I'm just giving a kind of an environment that one needs to see where the environment is. And for the entrepreneur, when you have to develop, you have to understand the environment where you live in, because you have to work and manage that environment. Because you will be facing multiple challenges when you go on a journey of as an entrepreneur, that these are the challenges, these evolutions which is happening in the economy. If you are not aware of in your society, in your community, what changes are happening, you will get hit much more. So how do you insulate yourself? If you are able to take care, become aware of it, many a time it takes time, you make mistakes, you fall down, you still have to wake up, you have to have the strength in you to be able to keep on evolving yourself, but that will be the journey. Some will survive, some will fail. I think that's a part of life. But if you are able to strengthen ourselves, even if you fail, you will again rise again. And that's the reason why, again, going back to my initial comment of please take care of your mind, body, and soul. Second, as an entrepreneur, if you see, and as I said that this pandemic has brought in lots of challenges, but I think it's opening up a huge amount of opportunities, especially for technology, especially for digitization, with working from home, getting isolated, the amount of the power technology is showing, the way it has evolved in the last 1.5 years. This disruption is massive and is going to definitely help people to evolve and grow much more better if you're able to take the advantage of it, take the positive side of the technology changes. If you see whether it's a notebook or if you are able to interact today is basically because of the technology which has enabled us to be able to get together very fast and be able to exchange ideas and thoughts. So therefore, keep in mind that whenever there is a challenge, there is an opportunity which will come. Look at that side of it, wherever you may be in your journey of life. What can you do? What role you can play? As an individual, in working in the environment, whether as an entrepreneur, but all world will be there. In case of an entrepreneur, you have to see that you are wearing multiple hats, because you have to take care of your people, you have to take care of finance sometimes, you have to be a finance head, you have to be HR head, you have to be a business head, sometimes you have to be a technology head. So multiple roles you have to play. Secondly, you have to see that whether you want to, you will also be juggling between the role of an investor and the role of an operating manager. If you have invested your own money, you have to take care of that investment as an investment hat and a perspective. When you are doing your day-to-day work, an operator, if you are an operator, a manager too, you have to take care of that part also. So if you just have a simple working in your mind, that what hat am I wearing today, you'll be able to take a better decision, I would say. So keep in mind that you will keep on changing your hats, keep on changing your role, and take a view and a perspective. You'll be able to see things much, much better and make your life much more simpler. The other aspect which is very important today is, in spite of any age you may be, one may be, that is 20-year-old, or 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, you have to continuously learn and unlearn. Unlearn the past, learn the future, present for the future. And it's an ongoing job. It's not that we can say that, okay, I have learned today, I have got all my education. You have to learn every day. You have to reskill yourself, because as the evolution and changes is happening, if you do not, then you are not evolving and growing your mind and your soul. Just the way you have to take care of your body, you have to keep changing different, as you grow, you will first play heavily. As you grow to age, you will start to change your methods of taking care of your body differently. With age coming in, the body taking different. So you change your activities. Similarly, in your life, in your working, you need to keep on upgrading your skills. So invest in your own self on a continuous basis. That becomes one of the very important aspects. The other aspect in entrepreneurship is implementation. First of all, you do your design thinking. You look at what is a product or service which you may be existing working on, or you may be developing to solve a problem. Because any product or service which you create, you need to solve a problem. It is there, it is required because you're solving a problem. So you need to identify what the challenge and the problem is in the society or in the community or at large, and how can you better solve it, whether it's operationally better or creating a new product or service which can help in solving that particular problem. So look at it from aspect of identifying your problem statement first, and then through a design thinking mechanism, you look at how you will work out to solve it. What is the best method, most appropriate method at that moment of time to be able to solve that problem. That will help you to achieve your objectives as you move forward. The other aspect, as I already told you, is not only as an entrepreneur where you are investing, but even if you're working anywhere in an organization, think like an entrepreneur. You are maybe an intrapreneur in that organization. So, but if you give your best there, you will evolve and grow because you'll add value to your organization and you'll be able to grow. And that's how, as Jayant was saying, that how come we have multiple businesses, services which we have created. It is basically on people. Without people, nothing can have. So you basically support people. You create more entrepreneurs. You multiply that. If you're able to create more entrepreneurs, they will take care. Empower them, so take care of them, guide them, interact with them, work together. But if that feeling of working as a professional entrepreneurship is there, and more you can create, that's how you can evolve and expand the horizon and be able to be relevant in the society where you are living in. So that becomes another important aspect. When you are designing your product and service, you need to ensure that what is the value proposition which you are giving, whether it is solving your problem in any manner. Some of the learnings which I have had is there is no pain no gain without any pain. So there will be challenges. You will be making mistakes. We have made lots of our mistakes. If I see, because of not being able to understand the environment, the society, how things were evolving, we have also gone into challenges many a time in this 30 years. But you learn from it. You don't get dejected, and that's where, when you strengthen your soul on a continuous basis, you're able to look with positivity. Look at how do you solve that problem. How do you take care with a very clear conscience that yes, your intention is positive. If your intention is positive, any challenge comes, you'll be able to take care of it. If you mean no harm to anyone, you mean working to take care of things, you will find a solution. Innovation, as the other team members also shared, is very critical, because you see what happens in life, that you're working, there is a certain knowledge base. People have created a certain way of solving a particular problem. Many problems have been there. It's just that problems are getting solved in different manners. So you have to continuously evolve and change. That whatever the challenges and problem happens, or new problems happen, what do you do to solve those problems? What is the innovation you can do? What is a different way of looking at it to solve the problem, whether operationally or technologically? As I said, people are your key assets. Without a teamwork, without people, an entrepreneur cannot survive at all. So one has to continuously look at taking care of people, encouraging them, supporting them, and working as a strong team. Everyone will have their strengths and everyone will have their weaknesses. How do we garner the strength of everyone and not look at only their weaknesses? Every person, every soul is a peaceful soul in this world. Every person has a certain value proposition. Look at that, see how that can support in your journey, your objective, which you are looking at and taking care. And foster them with a similar thought process with your team as entrepreneurs. Create ideation, free exchange of thoughts as a team. Other aspect in business as an entrepreneur is networking, building up contacts, because that is the key. So the more you interact, the more you meet people, the more you share thoughts, the more ideation will happen. Business is equivalent to networking. So you need to see, because you do business with people. So whether it's your customer, whether it is your other shareholder, whether it is your lender, whether it is your employee, all that is about networking. So how do you continuously keep building that network and contact through you? Some of the things that we look at from post the pandemic is, as I earlier said, is life has changed, the way we manage our lives. So I would say it has thrown phenomenal opportunities. The other opportunity which India is throwing and will throw a lot more is many of the businesses, which the way it was evolving, whether it had developed through debt, has gone through multiple disruption. So there will be a lot of opportunities to partner or explore those many businesses, which with a change of thought, with a change of leadership, with a change of ideation, can again revive. There'll be a lot of opportunity. But as I said, there'll be huge amount of casualties. The pain in the next 3 to 5 years in India will be massive. There will be growth, good growth to my mind. However, it will also bring in a lot of casualties parallelly. So it is through that one may say that people are trying to take advantage of the thing, but that's nature. Some will die, some will survive. But when you have businesses which have not worked and not have failed in the past due to whatever reasons, you take an example of the steel industry, very simple. In the last few years, from 2015-16, many steel industry was virtually went bankrupt and went off, went through the bankruptcy process. What happened? Many of the new owners came in. Today, the industry has evolved and it's growing phenomenally. So there was a challenge, there was a problem. And today that problem and challenge, people who were new entrepreneurs who took that And today it is an opportunity for growth. So therefore, for an entrepreneur is to look within, look down, look deep, to see what that product or service is and how relevant it would be there for today and tomorrow. And keep on reviewing this. Cannot take for granted that if it is there today, it will continue for long. That emphasis is very, very important. I've already talked about how you take care of your body briefly, but it is very, very important that in this journey of life, how do you take care of your own, the physical body which we have, because that houses your soul. How do you nurture it to ensure that it is healthy? Because if the body is healthy, the mind will be healthy, mind will think positive, and the soul will evolve better. So you would need to take care of on a continuous basis, and how do you, whether it's appropriate food you take, because that's the energy you take in, whether there's appropriate exercise and the balance which is required, in whatever manner, or a spiritual soul you need to take care of. So these are things which will ensure that as you evolve in your journey, that builds you much, much more stronger. Digital economy, I briefly touched upon, and I'm sure all of you are much, much more knowledgeable in that. I would learn a lot more on the way technology is evolving and changing. I'll give a simple example that just about 2-3 years back, I got exposed to the Singularity University in the US, in Silicon Valley. And we had, for a year or so, 2 years or so, we had exchange program with them for their professors to come and share perspectives, and I visited them. One of the thoughts which we saw, which can help in solving the problem, many of the problems, is blockchain. We now talk a lot about cryptocurrencies, which is basically built on a blockchain technology. We started to work on, set up a small center of excellence here to look at that, how blockchain can help in solving a lot of the problems and challenges. So we took that as a new initiative, and it's been a great learning for me that the power of blockchain, which can help in solving so many of the challenges which businesses have across the world. So we are evolving. I firmly believe that that is one thing which will develop a lot more. We know that with the cryptocurrencies coming, I see in some time, whether it is 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, just the way we talk about the electric car, vehicles coming in for mobility, I believe that digital currency globally will be a part of our system. As it is today, people carry less of cash. Gradually, that cash, governments and authorities could immediately move it to a digital form. So you through a blockchain environment, so you don't need physical currency. Imagine the amount of savings you will do on physical notes, management, transportation, etc. It can take that headache completely away and solve society's problem substantially. I'm sure that is kind of evolution. So this is an example which technology, which innovation can do to the world. So look at it in whatever manner you are seeing to see what changes you can do. Finally, because I like to spend more time in having more of interaction with the people, finally, I would just say, and what I said, we as a citizen of our country and our society, we also have to play a role in helping our governments to create the appropriate policy framework. One of the challenges which in the last decade, the way I have observed, is the way the policies, regulations are evolving and changing in the country. It is becoming a lot more complex. But because it is being designed and worked out mostly by government authorities and people who have not had the exposure and the experience on the other side. Therefore, it becomes important for associations, chambers, or as individuals to help in, rather than criticizing only to the government, but to see how you can play a role in putting forth the thought process, putting forth those things which will help in facilitating a very fair environment for everyone to survive. The government's role is to facilitate, and that is what we have to keep on. In a democracy, that's the way. We have to keep on interacting and doing policy advocacy. That's a positive way of development in a democracy, because every stakeholder is equal. So when the governments are there, the citizen, the business people, they have to play a role from different angles. As an entrepreneur, one has to play a role, and that's how that was basically I learned that a lot through my early days and through when I was heading ASSOCHAM as a Chamber of Commerce to be able to try and do policy advocacy with the government on a continuous basis. Yes, some of the things will work, some will not work, but that's a continuous process and a journey, which is important as an entrepreneur. That is one of the roles which you also play, not to just look selfishly to your own self, but to see that how do I able to take care of the ecosystem, which will ultimately help you as an entrepreneur to also evolve and develop. With these friends, I would look forward to any questions or any interaction. Finally, I just say again, please become aware on a daily basis, at night or in the morning. Reflect within yourself, see what have you done today to strengthen and benefit your soul, your mind, and your body. If you've done that every day religiously, just the way you do your normal activities when you wake up, if you're able to do these three and become aware of it, you will see that you'll make a sea change in your own self as you develop in this journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much. And I'm not just speaking on behalf of Notebook here. So just to give you a brief background, I myself used to be the South Asia head of a UK-based MNC called Perform. After which I took the entrepreneurial plunge. Achin and we started Notebook. And sir, today I'm listening to you and I'm just wishing that when I was in school, if I had gotten such inputs, such wonderful advice that you just gave, would have been of such huge help. And I'm kind of jealous of these young people who are getting this opportunity today. So there are a few questions. Dr. Mukhopadhyay, if I may please request you, sir.
Yes,
to moderate the question.
Yes. Mr. Kanoria, sir, one question from a young lady, Kashvi Jain. You had mentioned that, to manage many roles. She's saying that, sir, is it possible that we employ different people so that they can take on the roles instead of the entrepreneur himself trying to take on so many roles? That is her question.
Absolutely, it is important. As you start with the individual, you will have limited resources maybe with you. If you start with this thing, then yes, you must get a team. If you are able to garner a couple of members and people who have different skill sets and be able to support, that is definitely required. I just said that many a time when you just start as an individual, you must be aware that you may have to have multiple roles and hats you are playing. True. So therefore, you may not be expert in each area, but you must be aware of it so that you can go. If you are not aware that as you grow, you need an HR person, expertise in HR. You would not know that if you're not aware that you need a technology, what will you do? You will not even basically think of those lines to be able to attract those talent, attract those skills, to be able to help you to complete your product or service which you're going to offer. So therefore, it's a journey. You need to become aware and then see how you create that team. I hope I've answered the question.
Yes. So one very interesting question. I think these young boys and girls also know it's a very difficult journey. So Pratishruti is asking you that what was, you're a fascinating entrepreneur. Can you kindly share what has been the most difficult, some of the few most difficult moments you have passed through in the last 30 years or 40 years, whatever?
I think the biggest challenge, as I was sharing with you in terms of this journey, has been the evolution of India in this 30 years. Being a very strong democracy and with high diversity, the way the policy framework, the regulations have evolved or changed, that has not taken into account the diversity of the country. And when a rule or regulation comes, it just comes straight for everyone, for 1.4 billion people.
Yeah.
How do you create that differentiation to be able to take care that you have in that journey of the country's development, you have businesses and companies who are small. Now a little bit people are thinking now of startups. So they've created startup, this thing, trying to work out that how do you take care of startup. especially with our Prime Minister's drive. But it's not only about startups. Here you have defined startup, that what is the definition? Startup could be anyone who has started a journey, who is a young in his business, not in terms of age, but young in creating that particular business, and you are small. You can't be pushed with so many rules, regulations, which are so mired with this thing. That seeps you and not allows you to take the fullest extent of your potential. India is not able to grow primarily, I firmly believe, is because of our own systems, which we have become kind of trapped in that. If you see people, Indians who go out in a different environment, they excel, they do very well.
Yes.
Here in India, I'm not saying people don't do well, but they have to struggle many times.
Struggle a lot.
So therefore, you have to struggle with your own people.
Yes.
And that is because you are in a democracy in a developing state. What can we do to take care? And that's why I said you need to. The only way I am able to think till now is basically to do that advocacy with the government, try to convince it. More and more people are able to play that role and push the government, because we elect them. So we have a responsibility to take care. So how can we drive that in a positive manner to make those changes? That is been the greatest challenge in the learning, which basically hinders your development and growth to the extent your fullest potential.
Thank you, sir. And one more very interesting question for Angshu M. He said, what are the few mistakes, and learning from you, what are the few mistakes one should definitely avoid as an entrepreneur?
Many of them, I would say.
Yeah, sure.
Many mistakes when you reflect in the hindsight is as you grow, when the size grows beyond a point, how you are able to integrate and ensure that the culture in your environment, you are able to keep pace, develop and continuously do that. Your systems and processes then play a very important role. When we talk in a country, in a democratic environment, you need good systems and processes. Similarly, when you take a step back and see an organization, as that grows, you need to ensure that. And I think many a time we have not been able to do that. Many organizations able to do that transition very well. And therefore, when you do too much of leeway to your community, which I said, that in the development stage, you need a kind of a dictatorial environment. It's like your parent, to a child of 5 or 10, you will tell him, no, you can't do this. But at 25, you will not tell him that, you can't do this. You'll reason with him. But to a 5-year, you will not be able to reason. You will tell him that these are things which you should not do. So that is the evolution. It's a very fine line, but that's where I think many a time we make our mistakes. Secondly, not able to be able to assess correctly how the environment also is changing, how the policy framework, the regulation is changing, which will have an impact in your businesses. So therefore, that mismatch creates the challenge. So I would say many a time those have created issues and challenges, and it continues to do so.
Very nice. And Aditya Mitra is asking you, sir, that what, according to you, sir, is the most promising sectors for future entrepreneurs? Which are the sectors he should focus on? He's a young boy. So Aditya is asking that.
See, I think opportunities are all across. Of course, every opportunity, most of the businesses will get impacted with technology in terms of looking at it afresh. So if you use technology in the appropriate manner to create products and services which can be much more efficiently solve the problem, I think you will find many areas which is there where opportunities will be there. Whether it is food or agriculture, there's an opportunity. Technology will make a big difference in that space also. How you enable those activities to be able to try and find the solution. But I would say that it is kind of where your passion is, where you get an exposure and a learning. Whether you can play a role just in the technology space, whether you can play a role in developing that particular product or service. But I would say India will grow. India has 1.4 billion people. I don't have any doubt that India will not grow. I just believe that India will grow with a certain pinch of soil. There will be pains in their growth
Yes. Yes.
because of our structure, which is there, the way we are designed.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Now, sir, coming off, when you spoke of technology, what comes to our mind is the center of excellence, and the 3D printing, the blockchains, the data science. So, sir, can you kindly give your vision, because Notebook has an excellent, like we have so many people from the class 11, 12. So Notebook has a huge connect with students who are in the 11, 12, 9, 10. But I think it will be more applicable for the 11, 12 students in particular. So what's your vision for the Center of Excellence, which you have tied up with Fujisoft? So can you kindly elaborate, sir?
I think what happened a couple of years back, I was in Japan and interacting with this company, Fujisoft, and I visited their Center of Excellence in Yokohama, near Tokyo, where they were basically had the center where they were developing and training people on R&D and training for 3D printing, for data science, for cyber security, IoT. So we discussed with them and to see whether we can create that kind of a center in India. Fortunately, I must say that the West Bengal government here, we went to them to seek their support, and we got their support. They initiated a process, and they have been, they are a major partner, major financial partner, and they have supported to set up this Center of Excellence. I really appreciate the way, with the vision and the positiveness, which happened very fast in a couple of years. We did it. It just started last year during this COVID times. It's been slow because physically people are not able to come. But I believe it is one of the finest Center of Excellence in India. It's a partnership with Fujisoft of Japan. It is in New Town, Kolkata. The entire building has been provided by the government. The support is provided by the government, and we, along with Fujisoft, is focusing to develop these. This thing. It's a Center of Excellence for some of these areas, and I'm sure it can contribute to the environment in society, and more particularly to students, companies, businesses, corporate houses, who could source talent from here, develop people, and also do their R&D here. That's the core focus in area. With that intent, we have set up.
Thank you, sir. One very nice question from Aryan Pandey. He is saying, which I think many entrepreneurs face because they have so much passion. So he's saying, I'm never happy with the other team members' work, and I want to do everything myself because I feel that they are not doing. So I remember when you were the director, and there are many vice president GMs. Naturally, your passion will not be matching. They will not be as passionate, and आपको लगता होगा कि हम ही खुद ही कर लें, इन लोग से होगा नहीं. तो ये प्रॉब्लम तो बहुत लाइफ प्रॉब्लम है सर. इसको कैसे सॉल्व करते हैं?
See, again, very simple. This will be there. Every soul has a journey. Every soul has an individual. So what do? You work out. You have to respect people. Respect people in an entrepreneur. That's why I said people are your key assets. Yes, in that journey of life, people will come, people will go. What is required when you work out in your implementation? You need to. Any leader has to look at what do you integrate. You integrate the thoughts, ideas, skill sets of people into a particular thing. So with that respect, you can't do everything. Then you will not grow. So therefore, you have to look at to let go of many a time. Many times you have to learn to let go. It may not be perfect. It may not be exactly, but then you will not evolve and develop and move forward. You'll get stuck with being a perfectionist. You keep improving yourself. You take a decision. It may be right, wrong. Start to then work on to improve and correct it in that journey. So therefore, when you work as a team, people may be faltering. People will not do maybe the things. You have to continuously be an improvement. And therefore, that teamwork, continuously working together. And then, yes, you have to take many a time some hard calls where you basically see that certain skill set and capability doesn't work. So you have a very respectful working with the team members that at this journey of life, this role is not there and this needs change. So you have to do that because you have a objective to achieve. So you should not then dilly-dally on that. You need to be respectful, you need to take care of, but you need to ensure that you do not compromise in your service in developing that product or service for your customer. or for your taking care of your stakeholders, because that's your responsibility as an entrepreneur.
So we have one interesting question from Ms. Gaguri Chatterjee. She's not a student, she's a senior member of the Notebook team, and she's asked a very practical question that how, sir, does one balance between being a taskmaster and a people's person? All of us want to be popular with our people also. At the same time, as a team lead, you have to also manage the people and get work out of them. So I think Gaguri has asked that practical question. She wants to be a taskmaster also and be a people's person also. So how do you do that?
You see, I think, again, it goes back to that individual.
Mm-hmm.
If we continuously take care of our soul, mind, and activity and keep nurturing that, it will come out through practice. It will come out that you balance that. You see, and if you reason with people that this is what is required, if my objective is not served, there'll be a challenge for everyone. And all team members and the organization will have an impact. The mind of a person, because we are all human beings with an intelligent mind. So reasoning becomes very important. If you are fairly open, transparent, and are able to share the perspective that this is your objective, please note if you are not able to achieve this, it will have an impact, and it will impact the entire system and organization. I'm sure majority of the time you will be able to succeed in getting that people. Every soul is a good soul. Many a time the person in that particular journey is not able to contribute. Then you have to have, as I said, you have to be firm. You have to take certain hard decisions for the sake of the entire system and organization, and then let go in terms of in an appropriate manner. That yes, certain things are not working out. Let's move forward. It's better that you play a different role in your journey.
Very nice answer. Very nice. Sir, you'll be very happy to know that besides the students, Mr. Sanjay Divakar, who is a director of the Big Four accounting firm, also with us, and he's asking you a question, sir, that he believes that vision plus action is equal to transformation. He just wants your views on that. And
yeah, absolutely. Without, as I said, implementation is key. That action, we are all karma yogis in this. So therefore, we have to do our action, our right karma, right action is required. The implementation is not there. You may have the best of vision and idea. I've seen a lot of people who have very good ideas, vision and idea, but then they do not have the implementation. Then what do? You partner with someone who has that strength. See, as an entrepreneur, you never let go, oh, I don't have this. So how can I do it? You always look at, okay, if you don't have it, your ability, the differentiation between an entrepreneur, this thing is what? He says, fine, I don't have it. I acknowledge my limitation, but I will overcome my limitation through getting partners and working together who have those skill sets. And then you blend it. So your awareness should be only to know your limitation. Every person in this journey is not knowing everything. And that's the reason why you need people. You need a team to work together. So therefore, vision and action, karma goes hand in hand.
Sir, one very practical question is that in the initial phases, you're going to have negative cash flows for a few months and maybe around to a few years. So how does one sustain himself? Because,
So that is why I said one of the hat the person as an entrepreneur works is a finance man also. So he has to look at how he's able to create a story. One of the things I missed out is very, very important as an entrepreneur to be able to create a story and communicate your story. You may have a best of solution and product, but if you're not able to capture and share that story effectively, you will not be able to attract. I'll tell you those days it was not so evident, I must say, but that's how it evolved. And way back in '94, we were just about a 4 crore company. And when I interacted with the institution, which was the government of Germany, who in '94 invested in us, what was it? I just went to Germany and when I met them, they said, what do you do? How do you do it? I just gave them a story. And nothing much was there, but I just gave a story of what I intend to do, what we want to do, and why we have come here to take their support. They said, no, you're too small. I said, yes, we are small. That's why we have come to you. If we were big, then you are a developmental institution. So we have studied what their role is, what they want to do. And therefore, we sold them the story in a manner they would want to hear. And therefore, it worked out. So therefore, it's very important is to capture and be able to communicate your story. That will help you in getting the resources also. And you keep on refining that. Whatever you may have or whatever you cultivate, and your resources, not only financial resources many have, it's your people resources. So you're able to garner a couple of people and work together. Today, if you see many of the startups who have grown phenomenally, basically they start, they were initial well-educated, got the exposure, and they started in a small place and then evolved together. And I'm sure that they have been able to tell their story well, so that they're able to capture many of the startups with very good ideas and very good solutions, but they're not able to communicate the story.
I remember those days, the DG of Germany, then IFC Washington, one after the other, FM of Netherlands. And I remember that, UTI Bank was, initially hesitant to come in. And one point of time, I think you had all the banks who were actually your bankers. So that has been a very, very successful journey, that to have so many banks. Other things, sir, like you're talking of the team, but initially when you're a startup or you're small, I remember Srey used to attract people, bankers from State Bank of India, ICICI Bank, etc. So for any startup, because they will not have much paying capacity initially, so but they want the best talent. So how do you attract this, talent who are working in better places, and then
people are doing it with partnership. Partner with them, make them your partners. And I'm sure you will have a lot of people who have like-minded, the same, who wants to
vision.
That's how, if you see in schools and colleges and all, people come together with different skills and they develop and create a startup in India and all over the world. US has been predominantly very popular in that, and that's now caught on well in the Indian ecosystem also. In various, like if you see the IMM innovation, this thing itself, how students who have created that, the facilitation by the institute has happened, and I'm sure a lot of good work is happening there.
Right. So Diya Chaudhary has a very practical question. She's saying that should we start with the job first and then think of commencing a business, or should we start business with the first thing to hit the floor with?
See, there's no one answer. It's basically where you are in that journey of your life. And see, many a time, if an opportunity comes, look at that opportunity, evaluate continuously, and keep looking at it. And as I said, that networking is important, whether it is in your ecosystem of your university, with your work studying, if in your ecosystem, if you're working. So there's nothing that you're working, you may be working somewhere, get an exposure, and you get an opportunity to start creating something. Or many a time, you get an environment and opportunity where you're interacting with people and you get an idea, you get a thought, and you start working, let's come together and do something. So it's basically, it will be a lot dependent on a case-to-case, on an individual basis. But when you open yourself this thing and continuously review yourself as an individual, you'll know where and what opportunities there and what you should take. Reflect within. Again, I'm saying, become aware of your own self, own soul and your mind. You will get 100% of the answers yourself.
I think, sir, many people start off in the initial lecture session with Swami Vivekananda, but like you seem to be consistently talking about this soul. So I think you're not I don't think this is a huge transformation I see in yourself also. Because, I have known you for so many years, but the way you have been, like that seems to be from within. So I think, sir, that's a huge spiritual transformation you have done, and this looks to be right at the core. So we really want to congratulate you, sir, for that. That's something I can definitely observe, because you're able to link it back to everything. And Khushi Chaudhary is asking, sir, that, okay, sir, we are young, we're ambitious, but we really do not know how to implement, how to execute our ideas. So if we also have the fear of failure, so what advice do you have for Khushi Chaudhary?
See, one should not have a fear of anything. It's important that, yes, you'll fail 10 times, you'll learn from there. You'll again get up. Yes, you may have a limited resources at that moment of time. It would be wrong for me to say, if you're in an economic environment where you have a challenge, if you're basic, then you will have to take care of that too. And that's where every soul would have its own journey. But in whatever situation you may be, again, going back to that's the reason why what is the most important in the individual and the human being is your own self. We take care many a time of our body, of our this thing, education, etc. But we don't forget about our own self and your own soul. You take care of it, that fear will also gradually go away. Become aware of it. It comes, it's natural to us also. It's not that it doesn't happen to me, but I can only share that it is through practice that gradually you come out of it. You may not, you may fail once. So many people keep failing so many times, but don't give up. Steve Jobs, we know how many times he failed in his lifetime. When he,
Right.
I don't know how many of you should read the book, What Transformed Him, was the autobiography of a yogi by Yoganand Paramahansa. Steve Jobs spent a good amount of time in the Himalayas to be able to transform himself. Once he was able to transform his own spirit and his own soul, he was able to do a lot more.
Yes.
This is why I say that is the key for a human being to be able to nurture his vibe. Today we see so many spiritual this thing coming on gradually in the Western world is getting much more bigger in those areas. But India has taught all this. That had been our ethos.
Yes.
Another few hundred years of whatever we may say in our governance that crushed it down. We have to again revive that and build it up.
So I think we'll take one or two only questions now. So we have run out of. But Nehal Kothari has asked a very good question. She's saying that if she has an idea which is very good for society, but not very profitable, should she still go ahead or she should not go ahead? That's what she's asking.
See, I think if it is something good for the society, then your role is different. Then you're playing a role as a to make an impact in the society. Then you see that ecosystem. You may have an NGO, you may have impact funds who want to make an impact. Can you take their support? You have a certain value proposition. How you will market yourself with the perspective and the thought what you can provide. I'm sure you will get a lot of opportunity where people will be there to support you if you have your thought process right and ability to implement. Money, to my mind, is something which is relatively easy to come.
Okay.
It is basically your ability to be able to tell your story, work hard, see what are you doing, and be able to reach those. You will go beyond any limitation.
I want to tell you a very happy news that, normally in this kind of seminars, the number of participants keep dropping. But I think full marks to you, sir, that because of your very, very practical and spiritual answers, we had no drop at all among the attendees. There is lunch for all of us and you're also, we have short your time. So, sir, profound thanks on behalf of Notebook and on behalf of myself. I'll now hand it over to Shubhayu and Achin to take it forward.
First of all, Dr. Mukhopadhyay, thank you so much for moderating that Q&A session so beautifully. And Mr. Kanoria, I cannot thank you enough for all of those answers. Achin, if you could quickly do the vote of thanks, we'll go on to the Ignite piece.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir, for taking your time out. Really, at Notebook, we are very, very grateful to you. And if I may share a small incident with all of you who are listening to us today. When me, Shubhayu and Dr. Mukhopadhyay, when we went to Mr. Kanoria's office to seek his time, and we wanted to find out that when sir is free for this particular session, I was so happy to see that when Mr. Kanoria got to know that this is for school students, the only thing that he told us is choose a time which is convenient to students, and accordingly, I'll work on my other appointments. So this is sir, so humble of you. Really an inspiration to all of us. Also, during your address, I saw so much of intellectual depth, be it in terms of spirituality, be it in terms of your iteration of entrepreneurship as a way of life, importance of teamwork, which we all agree. and of course, the art of storytelling, which is so fundamental, irrespective of any profession that we choose to pursue in life. And also great optimism, which is an inspiration to all of us. I think one of the key takeaways from today's session is the kind of optimism that we saw. And when I think one thing that Mr. Kanoria today mentioned, that every soul would have its own journey. But what is so important is to not lose our guiding principle, and of course, to pursue our endeavors with passion. I think it has been a great session. We all at Notebook are truly so humbled, sir, for your time. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. This has been an absolute privilege. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Sunil Kanoria. And I, for one, am still having goosebumps because, wow, what a session, right? But I know what all of you have also been waiting for, and I will not keep you waiting much longer. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to reveal the names of the 24 semi-finalists at Notebook Ignite. These are the 24 teams who, basis of the points that they received from the judges, will make it to the semi-finals. The Vantage Hall Girls Residential School, Dehradun, DPS Modern Indian School, Doha, Gyan Shri School from Noida, Shri Shikshatin School from Kolkata, Delhi Public School from Jorhat, Assam, Global Indian International School from Singapore, Birla High School, Mukundapur from Kolkata, Assam Valley School, the Greenland Public School, Maharana Mewar Vidya Mandir, Bhavans R.K. Sharda Vidya Mandir, Raipur, K.R. Mangalam World School from Vaishali, the Sanjay Khodawat International School, Sri Satya Sai Vidya Vihar, Cygnus World School, Red Roses Public School, Sharjah Indian School, the Oberoi School of Integrated Studies, the Oasis, Dehradun, Learning Path School, Army Public School, Shankar Vihar, Siddharth International Public School, Sunbeam Sun City School and Hostel, the Air Force School, and the CRPF Public School, right? These are the 24 teams that go into the semi-finals basis the points that they have received from their judges. Well, here's where things get a little more interesting. What you have on your screen right now is a list of 16 schools. The DAV Public School, DVC MTPS, Delhi Public School, Haldwani, the Indian Language School from Lagos, Star Public School, the Max Sport School, Rohini, Epistemo Vikas Leadership School, Ramana Vidyalaya, Chennai, the Doon Girls School, the Abu Dhabi Indian School Branch 1, the Infant Jesus School, Podar International School, Maharana Mewar Public School, the LDC Public School, Welham Boys School, Unicent Nagol from Hyderabad, and the Wisdom Global School from Hardwar. Now, these are the next 16 teams on our leaderboard on the basis of their points. What we have here are an option for 4 teams to get a wildcard entry into the semifinals. So the 24 teams that you already saw are in the semifinals, and we are adding 4 more. Now, the way to add them is this. These 16 schools are invited tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. to a selection round. At the selection round, each team will be given 4 minutes of time. You cannot use presentations. You cannot use any visual aids. You will just have 4 minutes to explain your idea to the same set of judges. 2 judges who would sit through all of your presentations, 16 of them. At the end of these 16 presentations, the judges will convene. They will not be adding anything to your marks. They'll score you afresh. Basis their decision, we will choose 4 teams out of these 16, and they will be added to the 24 semifinalists. These are teams who are right now just below the top 24. The next 16 teams have been picked up basis their points. If you are from one of these schools and you're watching this, please do let your teammates, your coordinator, etc. know. If you're not on this session, well, tough luck. Well, I'll leave it on your screen just for a couple of minutes more because I would really want all of you to take this back. You don't have much time. The session is at 9 a.m. tomorrow, at 9th August. The link to the session would be shared on the WhatsApp group. Well, I hope everybody has taken a note, taken a screenshot, or just jumped up and down on seeing their school's name there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a fantastic afternoon. From 3 or 4 decades of entrepreneurship, we got phenomenal advice, and now we are trying to inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs. It's been a privilege playing host to you, all of you. I'll see you again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for the selection round of the 4 wildcard entries. Until then, please take care and goodbye.